Hey everyone. We're here on this fabulous set that my producer has constructed for us. We're live with Jeremy Haun. We've worked together on The Realm. His Twitter handle is above him on the screen there. Jeremy, how's it going, man? Thank you for coming on.
That's good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we've worked together on The Realm, but we've also done beauty covers, and we've done a short-lived like Batgirl backup back in the day. I think that was like the first thing we did.
It was in what, Shadow of the Bat, maybe?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
forever ago. Uh,
Right.
Before we get started with
Streets of Gotham. Or
yeah,
Streets
yeah,
of Gotham.
Streets of Gotham.
Gotham.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, Before we get started with all of that, there's a couple questions that I like to ask everyone who comes on. What was the first comic that you ever picked up? Like as a kid, what did you buy that like solidified your love of comics?
My mom worked at a little pharmacy whenever I
Yeah.
was super little, and so she was a single mom, and we were incredibly poor. So I had to go in and sit in the pharmacy every once in a while and wait for a little while on her.
Yeah.
So I would get to flip through the comics on the rack. Well, she would actually, when you're supposed to tear the covers off and throw them in the trash, her
Yeah.
boss let her. They tore the covers off, but then she got to take these coverless comics home to me,
So
and I was addicted.
they don't have that like similar return style anymore though. Like Diamond's taken over, like you buy it from Diamond, the shop owns it at that point. Like
Right. Yeah. 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 That was the old newsstand model, but I mean, we're also talking back in the 70s, so
yeah, yeah. Uh
I'm
so
super old.
how did you break into comics? Like what was
Um,
your first paying gig, and like what how did you get that gig?
well, the paying gig thing is kind of a weird. That there's a few steps I think before that are really important.
Yeah.
Um, I did I did a book called Paradigm, and we self-published it, and then Image picked it up, and I ended up doing that at Image for 12 issues, which is a year. Um, and then it was really in the decline of comics at that point. It was a
Yeah.
very, it was like 90 92 somewhere. No, sorry, not 92. Wait, 2002. I'm not. It's not
92
that.
is too far back.
Yeah, 92 would have been. Well, 92 would have been over. We're looking at 25 years ago. No,
Plus 92 it would have
2002.
been successful. It would have been the boom of
Right, right.
comics.
Yeah, I would have made more than tens of dollars. Uh, yeah, no, it's in the decline of things. It was 2002, and we did it, and it was. I mean, I got in, and oddly, I got into the company that I always wanted to work for. Um, but of course, nothing sold during that period,
Yeah.
and so then we ended up doing. I did a book with B. Clay Moore called Battle Hymn right after that.
Also with Image, right?
So with Image, yes. And again, that was really well received, but still didn't get us. I don't know if I necessarily call that a paying gig quite
Yeah.
yet. Following that, I did a bunch of work for IDW, and that was really my first paying work. I was That was a weird time. We finished Battle Hymn, and I had no idea what else I was going to do. Um, I We found out we were going to have a kid,
Yeah.
um, and I knew that I needed to make money actually
Sure.
with this. It was kind of that weird point where it was really sink or swim a little bit.
Yeah.
I was either going to have to make the money and be okay, or I was going to have to go work in some sort of factory.
Yeah.
So,
So, what were you doing if Battle Hymn wasn't, bankrolling you, and the book before that wasn't bankrolling you? Were you working a day job on the side?
during the entire time that I prepped for Paradigm, um, I worked I worked at uh, retail. I worked a lot of retail. I was
Yeah.
I was a manager, and then I worked in a frame shop for, and now I feel terrible for even saying this, but I worked at Hobby Lobby in the frame shop. Yeah. So I apologize to all of you women out there,
Yeah.
for the fact that I did. But
Well, you quit.
I yes,
So,
I left. I
let's give you a little
yeah, I
credit.
actually yeah. And I actually quit, and I think actually I quit, and shortly thereafter I got in a shouting match with the manager there. So I feel pretty good. Like I kind of
Yeah.
I
You
yeah,
you
I kind of
burned the bridge as you were on your way out.
yeah. I actually think I said I'm never coming back to this. I probably had some explicatives in there. I don't know if we can use those, but
Oh, you can say
I
whatever you want on
I
this
no,
fucking channel.
yeah yeah. I was like I'm never coming back in this fucking store anyway, and like walked off. I don't think I actually set foot back in there for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And then I had to buy a Copic marker, and it was a very specific one that Michaels didn't have, and I was trying to finish a piece,
Yeah.
and so I like went in there, and I was skulking by that. I was just so angry to be in there, but
Did you see people that you recognized and remembered, like when you went back in?
like one person, one lady,
Yeah.
and she looked just as sad and put upon to be
Oh,
there at that point. I kind of wanted to go and like
there
give
was
her
no
like a hug.
there was no like satisfying revenge. You were just like, oh, I guess this is your life.
Yeah, those. I mean, retail.
Retail beats you
You never,
down.
yeah, well, and you never really see like the management at these places that are there when you're working there. Most of the time, people move on, you know, or die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's the circle of life in retail. Move on or die.
right, exactly.
So we work on the Realm, and if you're watching this, we have the Realm diamond code down there for you guys to pre-order the trade. The trade final order cutoff is Monday.
Yes, Monday.
I haven't had the chance to like pitch the Realm at comic conventions and stuff like that. Have you worked any cons so far trying to sell the Realm?
I've worked lots of cons, like long cons. Yeah.
How's the response been from it?
Uh, I wish you were there for it.
Yeah,
I
man.
honestly, it's been one of the most gratifying experiences that I've had working in these things. I mean, we've worked for Marvel and DC, and
Sure.
we've done a lot of work in our careers.
Still
Um,
do right now. Me.
yeah, yeah. But like your own thing and your own thing that people are really into, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that I did. Some people might know, but I did a tour in September and October when issue one came out.
Yeah.
And I went to all over the place. But that culminated at New York Comic Con
Yeah.
over over that weekend, and we had people. It blew my mind. It was the most gratifying experience that I've ever had.
That's awesome.
You know, it's still one of those things where I'm kind of you never really know how
Sure.
to take it. We are men and women that sit in dark rooms for really long hours and in comfortable chairs.
Yeah.
And like having somebody come up and say, that this is their favorite book right now, or they're so excited about it. It's pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, that is awesome. So how does the Realm differ from previous creator owned stuff that you've done? Because this is coming on the heels of The Beauty, which is still running, which you're
Right.
writing now, correct?
Yeah. I co-write that with Jason Hurley, The Beauty, and we've been doing that for. We're working on the 23rd issue of that right now,
Yeah.
which is insane.
Yeah.
It's been going. It's a really good run for an Image book. I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure.
it's hard. I think that the numbers dwindle as you go, but the
Sure.
trade sales are still really strong, and we've got a good team, and we believe in the project. So
when did you learn from promoting The Beauty to better promote the Realm when you like launched this project? Like, how did one inform the other?
We joke that there's no promotion in comics. Um,
What is
like,
this then? What are we doing here? There's no promotion. We're shutting it down.
yeah. Well, you know what? I think that you're doing God's work right now. I think that
Yeah.
the what we're doing, and you and I have talked about this, on our own a lot about the having to change the way that we present ourselves. Putting ourselves
Yeah.
out there
Yeah.
more and doing things like this and like every podcasts and
Yeah.
using social
Yeah.
media in really positive ways. Um, you know, I when you're doing stuff for Marvel and DC, there's a machine there that first of
Sure.
all you're working. I mean, you're drawing Batman or Batwoman or whatever it
Sure.
is. You're drawing these characters that are icons that have tens of thousands or twenties of
Yeah. Whatever
a
number
ton.
it hits. Yeah. Yeah.
What? Yeah, yeah, 11 fans built in.
Right.
And and when you're doing your own thing, like there's not a PR department there. There
Yeah.
aren't people that are promoting for you. And I, with starting with the beauty, I realized I had to think about this in a different way. I had to get people interested in this and treat it. I looked at a lot of like campaigns for films and TV shows
Yeah.
and said, well, this is basically the same thing. Because I mean, it really is. It's
Sure.
entertainment, and you can easily categorize even most things coming out right now as it's like this TV show or like this movie.
Yeah.
Check it out, and so we started building a campaign. And when I say we, I mean like me and my wife Lori sitting there, like working on this stuff, and
Right.
people that I'm working with, everything too. But like, it was just long, long hours of us looking at things and saying this might work and this might,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
Um.
Yeah, so we kicked off with the beauty.
So, with the Realm, I just saw. I didn't even know about this, but you were doing a little mini documentary, be like behind the scenes. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what can we expect from that, and how does that fit into everything else that is going on in promotion?
It's we video stuff, I think is really
Yeah.
important. I think getting to meet people and see people, whether it's like this or whether it's this documentary style thing that we're doing. Um, it I don't know. People like to watch videos now. My
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
watches
Yeah. Yeah.
YouTube videos
For sure.
all day, every day. He saw us working on this and was like, "Is this going to be on YouTube?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. It will be. You'll actually watch it then." But we decided to do it just to kind of give people a little bit more of an experience and a
Yeah.
kind of bonus content thing that you can't get. And they're going to be short. They're going to be
Yeah.
like 3 minutes maybe, I think, per episode. And it's just me kind of talking a little bit about the inspirations for the series and where it came from, and
Are you diving into process at all?
a little bit, yeah. And that's going to come. I mean, it's kind of funny because I think that we sat down and shot, and then I
Yeah.
blathered a lot more than people ever expected I was going to. We're like, oh yeah, we'll end up with about 5 minutes of footage, and then we'll cut that down to little 90-second segments.
Sure.
And I talked for like an hour, and a lot of
Yeah.
it, they felt like a lot of it was usable. I feel like I mostly just ramble. So
Yeah. I understand. I ramble a lot too, as anyone who is
good.
a regular viewer will say. So we're moving on from the first trade of the Realm, which again, final order cutoffs Monday. It's right down there, right down there. So what are we had Mech5 ask in the chat, and I know that you said that you wanted to talk about a little bit about spoilers for the new arc coming up. He asked, what was the
Right.
focus for the second volume of the Realm? What do you want? What are you hoping to convey? Storyline, character development, new characters, etc. So what's in store for us for the Realm Volume 2?
We I remember whenever I sent you the artwork for issue 5.
Oh
And
yeah.
you were like, holy, yeah, you were just
Yeah.
like, this is insane.
I think I asked if we shouldn't release it because if we give this to a 12-year-old, it will melt their brain, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
well, we wanted to make the book that
yeah.
would do that.
This
Like,
is the thing.
I wanted to make that.
I love working on the Realm, and the reason is because like this is the book that I would have wanted when I was a kid, you know? Like this speaks to I've been like drawing a lot lately in the last year, and I'm trying to like narrow in on what exactly excites me, you know, and
Right.
trying to find that I think is the challenge of creating anything. And I'm like narrowing into like a very like D&D inspired space, because I think that's what when I had the most fun as a kid was playing D&D with my friends. And the Realm like definitely like pushes those buttons hard, you know?
Yeah, we had somebody recently do a review. It was a really weird review because it was it was the most backhanded complimenty kind of thing. You know?
Oh, comics.
But yeah, that's wonderful. But one of the things that they did kind of hit on was like that we push on all of the right combination of buttons. You know, it's got all those things that we love, and I just wanted to make a comic like that. To the question that was asked though,
sure.
The second arc, Seth and I, whenever we started working on the first arc, we knew that we were going to throw a ton of characters at you.
Yeah.
We knew that we were going to drop you in the middle of this world.
Oh my God,
this crazy
dude.
world.
That first issue, I'm like, I hope some of these dudes die. Like, I did not realize I was signing up for a team book.
I don't know that I did either. You think about stuff, and when you're building these things, and you're like, okay, well, there's the main crew, and in order to get everybody in the way that we wanted to, the main crew ended up being pretty big. But and then we're like, okay, well, we can do that. But then there's just like every person along the way that you meet.
Right.
They have personality. They have,
right.
They have a backstory.
They get folded in for a couple issues, and like, yeah.
And it's crazy that you end up with such a huge cast, a sprawling cast, and trying to make everybody look different, and trying to make everybody like you were talking about this when we were designing the characters, that like the color palette for like how this character looks standing next to this character. You don't want them all to be
right. You don't
brown.
want them all to blend, and you don't want them all brown.
Yeah.
And you like, but at a certain point, I'm like, we're going for a particular like rusty kind of look for the Realm, like well worn, partially destroyed kind of thing. And then it's like, well, guys, I can't put this character in like bright pink and blue. Like it doesn't work within the world. And like if we have 12 characters that are all hanging out together, like eventually we're gonna have to put somebody in pink and blue. So like let's start killing people is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, well, and I think actually Molly stands out as like the color choice of that like rust, that orangey rust colored capelet that she wears. And should she be wearing that in this world? That's probably painting a huge target on her. But like we made that choice, and I remember
the Goblin Sniper is the same way, because I put him in like a white like cowl, and everyone was kind of like, this looks great, but is it functional? And I'm like, well, maybe it doesn't need to be, like maybe he can just make a bad choice because he's a goblin. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and it's like you kind of want to give people like a pop of red or something like that.
Yeah.
On occasion, just because otherwise it's a visually boring book, and and that's the last thing that we want to do.
That's like the main challenge in colors when I get a book when I work on this book is like, okay, the world's like rotted out. Like, how am I going to make this issue stand against the other issue and have it not just feel like 40 pages of white noise? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that we managed to do that really well. In the last issue especially, there's like a color punch right at the end that is really
Right.
incredible. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody because, you know, just pick up that trade down there. But yeah, it's a joy to work on a project that has kind of like we planned out like what we want, and we planned out
Right.
the direction we're going visually, and we planned out like to a lot of times when I sign on to a book, I just get thrown in and it's kind of like, I don't know, whatever, you're the colorist, here you go. And it's like,
Right.
well, if you communicate these things that are going to happen down the line, like I can better prepare.
Right. Yeah.
So what's
We
happening
need to
down
answer
the
this
line?
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? We got to get to the spoiler.
Yeah. Okay. So you know, we've set up a lot with the first arc, and the second arc really for us, we felt like we needed to build the character. I mean, we set up so much. We need to know these people. We need to um, further connect with them, and so while it's still crazy and epic and has all this stuff going on, the second arc really becomes a little bit more of us pulling back and focusing on different characters in different parts of it. Um, issue 6 really becomes it's going to be an issue focusing on Ben, who is everybody's favorite orc slayer, and
Yeah.
he's awesome. And then Rook, and it's the two of them traveling together, hunting after some of the orcs, following the big craziness of number 5. And we wanted to just have the two of them and really kind of get to know them. Pretty quickly, we realized that they're probably the least verbal characters in the story. You know,
I was gonna say it's a very quiet issue.
Yeah. Well, which is one way to do it, but we were like, if we do that, people are just gonna be pissed because they're just gonna say like 3 lines through the whole issue, and
Right.
you know, that's it. But so we added a character from the compound, from the thing, the Everett's place that he you know, that got wrecked last the last arc. And he comes along with them, and he's there, you know, he's there for a reason. He knows the area, and he's helping them track the orcs, but he also is there to kind of force the Rook and Ben to actually talk to one another a little bit. Yeah. And I really love that interaction. I love what we built. We got, you know, some really cool character dynamics where you've got, you know, these 3 around a campfire, you know, a little bit, and you kind of more.
I'm about to jump into the issue, and I'm excited now. I'm pumped.
It's fun. And also, I mean, and I don't, yeah, we talked about it a little bit, hinted before, but there are owlbears in this.
Yeah.
In number 6, yeah, we get to see owlbears, and
Nice.
Yeah, for the classic D&D fans, like
Right.
owlbears they're the best thing ever. And I'm playing a campaign right now, and I keep joking. I'm like, so, you know, anytime in the next 3 months that we meet, if you want to throw an owlbear in there, I'm in. You know? Yeah, so they're great. And then the 7 through really like 7 through 10, the rest of the arc really focuses a lot on Molly and Will and Zach and Eli and David. You know, and especially, you know, David, without giving away too much, you know, like David's really pretty traumatized after the end of number 5.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it was a traumatizing situation for him.
Yeah. Well, and really the his world's changed, and I think for all of the characters, they've seen, they're realizing that something else is happening.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be dealing with that and kind of letting readers watch the characters, you know, process all of this.
Sure. Yeah.
But we we talked about it a lot, and the scope of what we showed in the first arc, and how big that was, and how we're asking a lot of ourselves, the creative team, drawing this stuff.
Yeah.
But we're also asking a lot of readers to process all the visual information that we're throwing at
Sure.
them. And so we wanted to pull back a little bit with this arc, and it's still going to be insane.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, number 6, I was like, oh, it's going to be, it's these 3 characters traveling, but I mean, you've seen the pages. It's still a lot going. You should totally color a page or 2 of this on your stream.
I'm going to for sure. We had a question in the chat. Are we going to get some more backstory on Will's arm and the creature he became in his dreams in the first issue?
Yeah, I mean, that's
I feel like that's something that's going to be like, doled out in little pieces throughout like the life of this entire project. Am I wrong?
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I'm gonna do that change we were talking about earlier.
All right. Jeremy is becoming a diva, changing hats. Okay, he's back.
I was gonna change hats between things. Yes, we are going to. I mean, I promise you, dear readers, this is not Lost, the TV show.
We're not going to get like, oh, they're in purgatory and here's a crank and the island moves at the end.
Right. Yeah. We do know where it's going and have known where it's going from the beginning.
Okay.
We do know what's up with Will's arm. We know
all the questions that everyone has will eventually come to a conclusion.
Yeah. And I mean, look, there's a thing too. I know people want answers, but
right. But like, we got to tell the story. Like, you got to be patient.
Yeah. Well, but also, like, the biggest one that I can think of is, do you remember sitting in your room when you were a kid and you were reading those X-Men comics, and there was this dude, Wolverine.
Sure.
And he had claws and he was weird and he didn't know who he was, and it was perfect. Yeah. We wanted to know everything that there was to know about Wolverine.
Yeah.
And then I'm terribly sorry to the people that have added to that mythos later.
Sure.
But
are we diving into like, we're diving into like, when you read Wolverine Origins, you're like, oh, I actually didn't need all this.
Well, not only did I not need it, I didn't want it. Like, I don't.
You wanted it, but you don't really want it.
Yeah. And so I think that we're really finding that middle ground of, yes, we're going to get answers. Like, there is a reason that Will is the Black Hand. There's the reason that what's going on there happened. And it plays into the focus of the series. Yeah. There are reasons for these things, and what, the dream, whether it's prophetic or just a fear of his, that this thing is coming and this thing is going to take him.
Right.
We're definitely going to let you know. And so it's going to be,
for anyone who is not super familiar with the series, who is like listening to all of this and is like, oh my God, what is this thing? Do you have like when somebody comes up to you at a con, comes up to the table and is like, hey, what is the realm? Like, do you have like a one sentence like pitch for them?
Yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic high fantasy adventure about a group of people trying to save humanity.
There you go. There it is. That's perfect. Yeah, we talk a lot about how to pitch comics at shows and how to pitch, like, because in a sentence or two, like, you can gauge if somebody's interested or not in like a minute, and you don't want to go on and on and on and on. So yeah, that's perfect.
Well,
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, no, no. Go
I
ahead.
had I was while I was on tour. My first, well, we were in Portland, and then my first official like stop the week that the book came out.
Yeah.
Um, I was in LA, and that Wednesday, I was riding this high because I was at Golden Apple Comics in LA,
Yeah.
signing the book, and I was getting notifications saying the book's sold out.
Yeah.
It's a hit. People are loving it. Uh,
Sure.
the secret variant that we did was the number one buy this now on this secret or this variant site.
Oh, that's awesome.
People
I didn't know
were
that.
yeah, it was crazy. It was I mean, it ended up being like one of the most sought after books of the end of last year. It was nuts. But 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 amidst all of that, and I'm kind of floating on a cloud, and I'm
Sure.
not at home, not with my family, and I really can't, but I'm just
Yeah.
buzzing. And then my agent called while I was out there and was like, "Hey, um, are you available to take a couple meetings this afternoon after your signing?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Sure, I guess," And so I was like, let me go back to the room and change, and I'll meet you guys there. So
Sure.
we went to the offices and went in and sat, and I sat. It was kind of out of every thing you've ever seen about people pitching TV shows or whatever. I'm sitting in this room with a half dozen TV and movie people, and we're talking about projects. And it was like this boardroom and all this glass and fancy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and I actually pitched the realm, in the room.
Yeah.
And
How were you nervous? Have you done something like this before?
no, this was actually my first time beyond like being involved in calls on stuff with
Right.
the beauty
In a phone
or
call is like one thing, but like
yeah,
I've done that, but I've never been in the room, you know?
yeah, it was weird. Well, I was sitting out there and I was I think I was more nervous going into it than I was when I actually got in the room. I was
Yeah.
like popping Altoid, the little Altoid mints. I think I ate like 30 of them.
You're coming in with
the
just
30
cheekfuls of Altoids.
Yeah. My breath was delightful, but yeah. But I sat down and something kicked over in me, and I was just like, no, this is okay. Like
Right.
I'm not here. Like I make comic books. That's
Right.
that's what we do.
Right.
Anything that happens with TV or movies or whatever it is a bonus. Basically, what it does is it allows me and my crew to be more comfortable while we're making these things.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal. If the realm or the beauty become a TV show or a movie or whatever it is, that just ensures that we don't have to ever say, "Holy shit, we're not selling as many copies as we need
Sure.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shut this thing down." So that that's what we do. But I kicked it over. I said to myself, I was like, these people are here because they want me to be here. They
Sure.
want to talk to me about the projects that I'm
Yeah.
doing. I'm just going to talk to them like like we're talking right now.
Yeah, I
And
think that years and years and years of grinding behind a table at a Comic-Con also like preps you really well for something like this, where you're like, I need to sell this book to this person. You're like essentially you're hand selling it to another human being, just like you do
Right.
all like every day through every con.
the interesting thing too about sitting in that room and at being at the con is you learn to read people a little bit. You
Sure,
learn to
man.
look at their
Yeah.
and like, okay, like I'm hard selling. I don't ever hard sell anything. I'm selling this. I don't care if you want it, buy it. If you don't, I'm fine with that. But
I hard sell, man. Like I don't let people away from the
I've
table
seen,
without
yeah,
buying something.
yeah. You do the whole thing where like you grab their hand and you're like, yeah,
I'm like, yeah,
good.
yeah.
But I kind of feel like like you're pitching something, and the best thing is you can look at somebody's eyes when they're talking to you about this stuff, and you're like,
Right.
oh wait, they just got really excited by this one thing that I
Right,
said.
right.
I'm
Or
gonna kind of
you can
mine
tell
that
when they
now.
like kind of check out, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, thanks. Hey, have a great day.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's important to do. Yeah. So but it was a great experience. And you know, I don't know what's going to come of it,
Sure.
but being in the room, like that was a really fantastic experience, and it um hopefully it'll lead to big things. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about signing at in multiple places. Can we talk about the crazy tour that you did? Like you took upon yourself to do? I've
Probably.
never, I've never like been a part of a book that has ever done something like this. Did you see somebody else do this, or did you come up with it on your own? Can you describe like the planning process that went into it?
Yeah. About 5 years ago, whenever I was drawing the darkness,
Yeah.
I talked with Philip Sablick, who was the publisher at the time, about doing a darkness tour. Um, we were really trying to rebrand the darkness and do something new with it, and promote it in a big way. And I love to travel. I love meeting people. I love food. I
Yeah.
love the
Yeah.
experience of getting to go to all these places. Um, let me come to your city and eat the food and drink the drinks. That's pretty much what I want to do for the rest of my life. Um, but that didn't work out with Top Cow. Basically, just the schedule and the amount of work required to make it happen kind of made it impossible. So I kind of backpocketed that. We talked about doing it for the beauty. Originally for the beauty, my idea was if I was going to pull it off, I wanted to like rent like an old caddy or something like that, like
Yeah.
and just straight up road trip the whole
I
thing.
like this. I think this is
It
like
would.
a buddy road trip movie in the making.
You know what? We should just rent like a Winnebago or something like
Yeah,
that
I'm
and just
I'm
go.
into this.
Uh,
I'm feeling
well,
this.
uh,
I don't know if my
Ma- uh,
fiance is going to enjoy this, but I'm enjoying this.
she will when she realizes that she doesn't have to put up with you. You just like just to pick up your socks laying around the
Yeah,
apartment.
yeah.
No, but well, Matt and Nayoung Wilson
Yeah,
they've traveled, they've done that thing,
they're living the
and
RV life.
yeah, gosh, I mean, it's amazing. Like it really is kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
So how many
with
spots did you hit? Like when did you drive? Because I
no, I didn't.
you ended up
No,
flying.
well, it kind of became logistically impossible because I had three of the signings that I did were very time specific.
Yeah.
Like they wanted me there for an event. Bedrock City Comics in Houston, Texas, wanted me there for Batman Day,
Yeah.
and so they were bringing me in for Batman Day, which fell on the tour, and they were really promoting the realm, but it was for this event,
Yeah.
and so that like I had to go, and I like it started in Portland, it went to L.A. I went from LA to Allentown, Pennsylvania, because it was for the grand opening
Like you do.
of their shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that was Beachhead Comics in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and
Nice.
it was their grand opening, and the
That's
guy, oh,
that's really exciting
they
though.
well, and then they were just so good. They were so awesome, I was honored because it was their grand opening. They were really excited about the book. They were really promoting me.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a new shop, and it was a great experience. But I did that, and then I went from that. I came home for a couple of days, and then I got to see my kids.
Sure. That's
And then
important.
I went to Kansas. Yeah, they're all right. Uh, but then I went to Kansas City for to sign at our local Kansas City shop. It's Elite Comics. It's awesome. But that's, the one that has kind of been a, a constant in supporting Seth and I.
Sure.
So we did that, but then went from there. I hopped on a plane, went to Houston to Bedrock City for that.
I'm seeing why this is like impossible to drive now.
Yeah,
you're like crisscrossing the country like crazy.
Yeah, and it, that's hard. I mean, and it was kind of, it was really strange because I started losing time in some ways, because it was a month that I was gone doing this, and I ran into a couple people at the Dallas Fort Worth airport where like we actually had talked when I was there at the beginning of the trip, and then ran into each other in the middle of the trip, and we were like, okay, this is weird. The Starbucks attendant recognized me when I was there like 3 times over the course of the month. It was really bizarre, but I wanted to do another tour for the trade
Wow.
But logistically, we're working so hard on trying to get 7 and stuff done. It wasn't really in the cards.
Through all of this in the course of a month, and you're like, let's do it again. Mm-hmm. Like you're all in again.
I wanted, I mean, the hardest thing is I can't really draw the way that I want to and need to.
Dude, that's the X factor. I've been talking with Matt about like how he is managing his workspace on the road in the RV, and like that's the thing that terrifies me. Like that's why I don't bring work on the road with me, and why I don't like try to work at Comic Cons or anything like that. It's because like everything I do on the road, I bring it home, I put it on my regular like setup, and I'm like, this is only like 70% there. Like I'm like, it just needs so much more to like push it over the top.
Well, for me, part of it is my process is 95% physically done. Like
I was going to say, like, you can't just bring like what are those like lap boards and a Bristol and just like do your thing.
Yeah. To a degree, but I think that like, I pencil standing up.
Yeah.
90% of the time. But like when I ink, I have to be sitting at my desk at the right height.
At the right angle. At the right angle.
Yeah. And, I'm getting old enough that, my hand is, like I'm always like, I'm worried about a palsy starting or something like that. But it's a very, and I try to not be precious, but like it's, I sketch at cons all the time, and I'm like, this is not as crisp as I want it to be because I'm not sitting at my desk, and I know that's a limitation, and it's a stupid limitation to have, but
you settle into like a work feel, like the angle like adjusts how your muscle memory is in your brain when you're like inking something, like all that stuff like factors in for sure.
Well, yeah. And, the other side of it is if you're on the road and I flew out of Joplin, went through Dallas Fort Worth and ended up, 11 hours later in, Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't want to draw whenever I get to the room after an hour.
Fuck that.
I
want to see Chicago and like hang out, like have drinks and food and in your city. That's what I want.
I want to give special props to Chicago as a city. So anybody that lives in Chicago, you're actually pretty good people. I managed to get sick on the road. I was in Annapolis, Maryland at Third Eye, and I started. Oh God, it's such a good shop. But I started to get like an ear thing, and which it's the best time to do it. You have some sort of ear thing, and then you fly, and then
and then your head explodes.
Yeah. Well, like I couldn't hear when I got off the plane, and so
Yikes.
I get off the plane, and then I have a layover, and then I had to get on another plane, and I was just like, I'm probably gonna die. So I had 24 hours between getting there and my signing. So I holed up in my room, trying to feel better, and I felt quite a bit better for my signing. It was great. But then I flew to Chicago, and I was like, this is still there. My ear is killing me. So in the cab from the airport downtown in Chicago, I fell asleep for like an hour in the cab.
Yeah.
He literally could have been driving me around in circles. I don't know. But I woke up in the cab, and he's like, hey, you're here. And I'm like, oh. and these guys were rushing. They opened the door thinking that the cab's for them, and they're trying to get in. And I'm like, dude, I'm in here. I'm actually asleep.
You're like, I need to escape this. Up. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I left my phone in the cab, and I was freaking out because that was my life support, on this trip. And, if you leave your phone in the cab, you're screwed, right? Like, that's just the way it is. You're not going to get it back. Yeah. And so I quickly got with the doorman there, and he's like, okay, you have the receipt. Let's call the cab company, and then I want you to call your phone.
Oh, he was on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, he was amazing. And I was like, okay, and then I wasn't able, I got there so early that I had an hour before I could even check in my room.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in the lobby with all of my gear, hoping that I can get, this phone back. And I did. The cabbie came back.
That's great.
And I'm like,
Chicago people.
Yeah, I was like, here's $20, and then I handsomely tipped the guy that was helping me.
Sure.
It was, but yeah. So do we have?
What's that?
Oh, I was going to ask if we had any more questions from people.
We have some. Some people are just saying that they loved the different variant issues. And how many in total did we do? Because I only know from my end like how many I did, but for the 5 issues, how many covers did we do total?
Kind of feels like 1,000, right?
It does.
Doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah. I can tell you. So we did. The craziest thing really was that we did 7 covers for variants for the first issue.
Yes. I know I did like 4, 5 maybe. I can't even. Somebody just said 9 including the second printings.
You know what? I believe that person.
Yeah.
They're on it. Yeah.
We'll trust the chat for now.
Well, yeah. And
so you did this tour, and you've also tied in with like YouTube stuff. We've tied in with Me Like Bees is making an EP with music inspired with the world of the realm. Like,
yeah.
How instrumental do you think all of this is in launching a book? Like, if somebody in the chat right now is like, oh, I'm making a book and like I don't really have an audience and I'm just kind of toiling away, like, how much of this do you think they should jump into? And also, when you were putting together your tour, like, how did you reach out to stores? Did you just cold call?
Image was a really big benefit to that.
Yeah.
I mean, the crew at Image, Allie and Bria, they really helped a lot with lining up. Like, these are our shops that we tend to do stuff with. They are really good. I also mentioned it. I kind of just threw it out there on Twitter. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm a crazy person.
I am a huge advocate for if anybody is making anything in comics, they should be on Twitter, just like to build your following, not only for that, but just for this exact moment where you're just like, hey, I've got a crazy idea, I can't do it on my own, like let me just like ping the fan base, you know?
Right. I completely agree. I have a real love-hate relationship with social media.
Same.
It's actually hard on me because and you know, this is something in my character that is a little silly, but like I think I take on too much of the emotional turmoil of the world sometimes.
Yeah,
So if I read my feed and see people hurting and in bad places and stuff like that, it really starts to get to me.
So I kind of casually started, like I was using Twitter very casually, but in the last like 2 years started like upping my game, like trying to take it seriously, making content that was free for people, stuff like that. And this past year, I've started grinding my teeth in my sleep, and I don't think the two are unrelated.
Yeah, no, I enjoy social media in the way that like it's a wonderful conduit for me to put stuff out there, give bonus content for things, interact with people that want to interact with me.
Absolutely.
But I don't have a lot of it's very hard on me trying to necessarily like, you know, seek out stuff. I just don't. First of all, I don't have the time to do that the way that I would like to, I think. I spend hours and hours and hours at the table. And, you know, every time that I turn around and answer something or whatever, it does take away from that. Now, if somebody needs me or wants me on social media, like if you want to ask a question, if you know, whatever, I'm there. I'll try to get back to you as soon as humanly possible. But yeah, you're asking a bigger question though. You're asking about do people need to do these big crazy things? In order to promote? First of all, just have a good product. Like make something that you love
but
and that you're
product aside, like I'm talking about like behind the scenes, like, you know, everybody buckles down, makes the best book they can. That's like happening with everybody always within comics, by and large. But like, I think there's a level of extra stuff that no one really talks about that much that I feel like kind of needs to get done in order to facilitate you bringing that product to an audience. And like, what do you think? Absolutely. What do you think is like, how do you get started on that path? Like, if you're not like trying to book stores and stuff like that, if you're not like, don't have the income to like be able to fly around the country, like, what do you think are good first steps?
Be a crazy person. Really is the first thing.
Okay, first step. Crazy. Got it.
Yeah, just be a crazy person. I mean, most of this stuff I'm doing because I love it and because I get a kick out of it. I always wanted to have some kind of musical connection to something that I was making. I always wanted to, like, I make soundtracks for nearly every project that I'm doing, and I was like,
I've just started doing that, by the way. Like, it's really interesting. I put out a Wild Dog playlist that, like, whenever there's like a good Wild Dog moment in Cave Carson, I'll like turn on the Wild Dog playlist and like kind of get into the headspace, you know? We should in addition to the Me Like Bees stuff, that's the EP that's coming out, you should make your realm list public. You should put it out there, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it really is, for the most part, in a lot of ways. It's either score for the realm, stolen from other things, or it's, you know, the Me Like Bees stuff. You know, but I also just, I mean, it's basically people are going to get really tired of me saying, hey, I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar right now. It doesn't really have anything to do with the realm at this moment beyond just being badass. You know, but yeah, we, you know, but like, that's because I love that stuff. Do I feel like it immediately translates to numbers for the
Right.
book? I don't know. I honestly,
Yeah.
I don't. Most of this stuff isn't quantifiable. I do know that having an active mailing list and reaching out to people is a very, very good way to communicate. Giving them bonus material, letting them know. I mean,
Yeah.
like I'm on hundreds of mailing lists,
Right. Yeah.
and I mean, some people really take advantage of it, some people don't, but and some people take too much advantage of it. Those people usually get muted or whatever,
Yeah.
but or unsubscribed to. But like, it never hurts. Like if I'm finding out that a friend or somebody that I'm a fan of is doing something new because of their mailing list, I'm going to be like, oh, cool. But I'm not really ever going to be like, oh, I'm so angry because somebody sent me an
Yeah.
email. And if you're like that, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Nick, you're an
Whoa,
asshole.
whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah,
I didn't know you could tell that I unsubscribed from your mailing list.
You actually, and it's weird because not only did you unsubscribe, I got all of the mailing lists you signed me up for.
Oh, okay.
As revenge.
I'm glad those
You were
came
just like,
through.
screw you. But people. Excuse me for 1 second.
Sure, you're blowing up. But yeah, I wonder, like, so Twitter's probably like a good place to start to like build that audience. But if you're coming out with a book and you're trying to put it out there, is there like are no extras like off the table? Just be a crazy person, shoot for the moon every time? Like, is that kind of the mentality you should have?
I think calculating it is pretty important. I think that
How
you have to realize.
Okay, but if you're calculating it, and like you said, there's no like quantifiable way to see like how this like impacted you, to see like how this is worked, how do you not drive yourself crazy?
But I said be crazy in the first place.
Yeah, all right, fair.
That was the thing.
Oh god. Comics is gonna wear me down.
Yeah, it will. It'll break you. Was it Wally Wood that had the quote, "Comics will break your heart, kid"?
Yeah, I think, or Kirby, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it was Kirby. I'm bad with quotes. I never know them, so I'm sure that somebody can correct me a lot. Probably be like Mike Norton or somebody. But
he's the one texting you corrections to this interview in real time.
Yeah. It is there aren't always quantifiable ways to quantify this stuff. But I think you can tell what's working and what's not. For instance, so let's go over a few things that I did for the Realm. So when the Realm #1 came out, I put together a series of crates that I sent out to industry fans. I mean, I sent one to Scotty Young. I sent one to Jason Aaron, a couple of films or friends that are in film and TV, various things. And I sent these out, and it was basically like a box that was kind of like a press kit, like something that furthered the experience. Like it had some survival stuff. It had like the flint and steel that you can use to make a fire. It had one of those thermal blanket kind of things in it. It had we set up a site that was a preview of the song, but it was treated like it was an old DOS kind of thing.
Yeah.
It had some maps and all sorts of crazy shit in there.
Sure.
I did that because I like that experience. Do I think that really helps? I think that a couple of my friends were like, "Hey, this is cool." Uh,
Yeah.
um, you know, from there we did like a meet the characters campaign where I had
Right.
the image of the character and I said meet this, meet Will,
Someone
so on and so forth.
someone in chat actually brought that up, that they really liked that, and that got them buying the book.
Ah, cool, cool. Well, actually, thank you so much. This is actually one of the interesting things. I think that sometimes tell us what works too. Like if
Yeah,
you have
man,
something,
there should be a dialogue happening between fans and creators, because like
yeah,
a lot of times I feel like when I'm trying something new, it's just spaghetti meat wall, and it's like
right,
I'm
right,
trying everything I possibly can, and then it's just like silence, and it either translates to sales, doesn't translate to sales, but I don't even like be like, that's not even the end goal. I feel like a lot of times with like, you know, when you try something out, like all I want to do is like impact someone. Like if I can get one person excited about it and respond in a positive way to me, like that kind of starts to make it worth it, because then you start to think about like everybody else who responded but didn't necessarily like talk to you, and you start to be like,
yeah.
oh, this thing is working. So
I think that actually, yes, and I kind of that made me think of a thing. I kind of wanted to segue to there's you in promoting, you don't know what works always,
sure.
and it's scary and it's stressful, and you I guess I would like to talk about the shame involved sometimes in promoting yourself. Because I think that this is something that there's sometimes there's this weird thing where creators act like they don't have to promote their stuff, or they shouldn't have to promote their stuff.
Right. Well, I think there was a time like in the 80s and the 70s where like people just did their work and the work spoke for itself, and that was it.
Right.
Like when I got out of school in 2004, I was being trained by professors who that was the world that they lived in. And it just, the world doesn't work that way anymore.
Not at all. No. But I think that we still, as creatives, sometimes have that viewpoint. And I think that there is a certain level of, I think we creatives sometimes shame one another about it.
Yeah.
If you do a thing, they kind of give you shit about it, or kind of think that you're being an idiot or whatever.
Yeah.
Which happens. But and what I'm trying to get to though is if you're wanting to promote your thing, I think sometimes I'm promoting too much. I'm talking about this too much.
Right.
I posted about the FOC, which is it still down?
It's still, yeah, it's still down there. Still down there. The
Okay.
diamond code's right down there.
I was like, oh, I posted about it today, but I posted about it 2 days ago.
Right.
But like, I'm still going to have so many people that actively follow me and are active fans that love to buy everything that I do.
Sure.
That are going to get to a convention and they're going to be like, yeah, they're going to be like, oh, dude, why didn't you talk about this more?
Right.
And I'm sitting there thinking about my asshole friends that are busting my balls because
you're
I'm
like doing it too much.
much.
Yeah. I try to keep that perspective with Twitter, because like Twitter is so quick in how things progress. Like your feed moves so fast that like you can't just be like, oh, well, I tweeted once and like that got the word out. You're like, you have to basically do it constantly, which is like obnoxious on your end, and anyone who's following every single tweet is going to be obnoxious. But like 90% of your audience on Twitter, maybe even more than that, I feel like will catch things here and there, like when they're aware.
Right. Well, and that's a very, like, your peak times to try to tweet when maybe like, people will be having lunch, or they're,
Sure.
hanging out or whatever. But like you you have to get the information out there, and especially with something like, yeah, I'm gonna really quick explain what FOC actually is. So
Okay.
FOC is final order cutoff, and what does that mean? Final order cutoff is a shop's last chance to order something, and
Yeah.
If you go in and you say, hey, if you go after final order cutoff and you order something, it actually costs your store more to do that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've been doing comics for 15 years. I had no idea.
Yeah, like advanced reorders, like it's not quite as exactly, and they're having to reorder and get it shipped and everything like that. It's going to take longer, but it also we set the print run for something based on those orders. So say that we get, and I'm just going to throw out like a fake number.
Sure.
Fake number. So say we get 5,000 orders for the first trade. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Image is going to say, okay, well, we're going to print 7,500 because we're going to have 2,500 extras just for whatever.
Right.
Well, say then, though, after that, there's such a rush on these. And like with issue 1, we sold out so fast.
Right. Like immediately.
The overprint the day that it came out. And I'm not blaming anybody with that. And there's absolutely no feelings at all. But like, because shops, and I love retailers, and I love the fact that they take such a chance on this stuff because it's all on them. I mean, they have to guess whether each book, like, hey,
and if they screw up that number, if they over order, they're just stuck with stuff.
Stuck with it.
Yeah.
And that's
it's just lost.
And comics are expensive now. It's $4 a piece for comics now.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're out that, they're out this money, and that affects them. But so if you see a final order cutoff on something that you're interested in, an announcement about that, please try to remember to contact. And I don't care whether it's the Realm or Cave Carson or Miracle Man or whatever it is. Sorry, Mr. Miracle.
Mr. Miracle. Yeah.
I always get that confused. I'm like, the new Miracle Man. They're like, no, you don't know comics.
You're outed as a fake nerd. You heard it here first.
Yeah. All right. But shops don't always know, and you don't want to stick them with it because it may not be there the next time you want it.
Right.
And so it helps everybody. But I think that again, it's my job as the creator to make sure that that you can get this now, or that it's available in this window of time. I don't know. I actually want to make sure that I talk about this, and this is actually something that I don't know if it's been fully announced yet.
Yeah.
So you and I have been working on this, but so we're doing a special edition hardcover of Volume 1. So you can get the regular edition. You can go to your shop right now and order the regular edition, or you can contact your shop and say, hey, I want this special hardcover.
Yeah.
That special hardcover, for those of you that know, is going to have the same cover as the secret variant, because everybody already knows what the secret variant is.
We can talk about that. I think I put it in the background at one point. It's the D&D cover. Yeah.
Nick and I are nerds.
Yep.
And we love D&D, and we wanted to do that throwback. That was the secret variant. But those were very, very limited. It was 300 of them out there or something like that.
Yeah.
We wanted to make it a little bit more available because it's a cover that we're as proud of as anything.
Sure.
Your colors on that were spot on perfect. And so we're doing this hardcover. But the extra thing about this hardcover is not only do you get this beautiful hardcover feature with the first arc in it, You also get a download card for a free copy of the Me Like Bees Songs from the Realm EP. So it's all 5 songs that come with this. It's on an awesome little card. We designed the back.
Yeah.
It's glued inside. So you get this combo, and this is special. And I think, and I believe this is also limited in that we're only doing 1,000 of them. It's available through shop. You can go.
Final
in
or
fact,
cutoff.
I would really,
Monday.
Yeah. It's not the same code. You'll have to tell them that you want the hardcover, and we'll both.
Yeah, we'll be tweeting
tweet
about
out,
it. I'm sure.
and let everybody know the second that we have the code.
So,
but
all this stuff, the Realm promotion, all of this aside, can we talk about how you're the mayor of Joplin real quick? Since
I'm the Duke of Joplin.
Duke of Joplin. Yeah. Okay, yeah, okay. So,
it's a slight. I have less obligation.
I actually, so I didn't hear this from you. Like somebody, like I was like, oh, I'm working on the Realm with Jeremy, and then somebody in hushed tone was like, did you know that he's the secret mayor of Joplin? Like, so what exactly? How did that go down? Like, you're not really the mayor, quote unquote, but like
I'm neither mayor nor actual Duke.
But you saved Joplin's comic book shop in a way. Like, how did all that happen?
Well, it was. I mean, the guy. So my good friends Jason Hurley, who I write The Beauty with, and his brother Nathan. They had this fantastic shop called aptly Hurley's Heroes, and Joplin a few years ago got hit by a tornado. Probably most people know about it.
Sure.
Unfortunately, it's one of the biggest things that kind of put us on the map.
Joplin's known for, yeah.
yeah. We got this big twister that came through, and it ruined a square mile by miles of the city, which is a lot of what we have. And it affected the economy in a really negative way, where people weren't buying comics. Like, they couldn't. I mean, you're trying to survive. And so in order to save themselves from having to truly shut down, they closed the doors on the shop, and they moved to a small office space where you could still pick up your subscription, but it wasn't the shop as it was. They have a really good gaming group. They had a really good gaming presence. It was a great comic shop, and they just had to limit it to this tiny thing. And they wanted to reopen, and they wanted to open on Main Street, which is this kind of it's being revitalized, and it's really growing, and it's an amazing part of town. They wanted to be on Main Street. They knew that renting down there was going to be fairly, like, the couple places they looked at were fairly cost prohibitive, or the money was kind of weird on it. And so I basically told them, hey, instead of doing that and renting from them for this number, if I bought a building, I could actually let you rent for this number, which is a little bit, it helped.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, and they saved their own shop. They worked very hard. They're good
I'm
guys.
giving you more credit than's due.
yeah. But so I bought a building. We bought a building, and so we put the shop in it, and it's thriving. It's been there for 3 years now, I think. And it's 2 storefronts. So we've got that, and then we've got something else in the storefront next to it, and then we put 4 apartments above it. And Hurley actually lives in one of the apartments because it's awesome to wake up, walk downstairs, and go to work. That's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
But during that, into the bigger joke about me being the mayor of Joplin is that we kind of realized that when you're in your 20s, you like to bitch about things and be like, "Oh, this town sucks.
Yeah.
It's a small
Yeah.
town. Oh,
Yeah.
I hate it.
Dude,
Why don't we have a music venue?
So, Gainesville has been described to me as a town where if like they had one less thing, the town would be a shithole, but if they had one more thing, the town would be awesome and you would champion it.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a lot of what the mentality about Joplin is. We've got great restaurants,
Yeah.
but we don't have a ton of great restaurants.
Right.
We've got some cool stuff, but not a ton of cool stuff. So
yeah, so we decided to like step up and start to invest in the town.
Yeah. So I really said, why don't we put our money where our mouth is and try to look at the long game and say, let's invest in Joplin. Let's try to make a difference. A lot of that, even maybe more than me, my wife got on the Downtown Joplin Alliance board and said,
"Oh wow,
I'm gonna donate my time to that." And then she became the president of the board. And then last year, like just over about a year and like 14 months ago, she became the executive director of the not-for-profit, the organization, whose basically their entire goal is to revitalize and promote and do excellent things downtown in the city. And
nice.
It's really exciting. And we've kind of doubled down. We bought a couple more buildings that we're actually working on right now.
So let me ask you real quick. Sorry. So you have these buildings. Has that affected like your mentality with taking risks in comics? Has it made it better or worse?
I might be dumb. I think that maybe I wonder, I need to ask my mom if I got hit in the head when I was a kid. I really always feel like risks, like without risk, there's not reward.
Sure.
I was very, very comfortable at DC.
Yeah.
Drawing Batwoman and Constantine.
Yeah.
The page rates are great. They treated me better than I mean, like it's hard work, but they treated me so well.
Sure.
I could have stayed there for the rest of my career.
So did
going
you
from book to book and doing things,
so
making
did you,
that page rate?
Really make a decision to be like, I'm going to start doing creator owned. I'm going to break away from this.
Yeah. Yeah.
What,
I mean,
what went into that? Like, did you like crunch numbers, or was it just like a gut feeling? Like, how did you make that decision?
it was a combination of the two things. I mean, we're pretty analytical about, things, but we still also are happy to dream a little bit and take risks. Yeah. What we did was we saved for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Basically the time that I knew that we were wanting to do it. I knew that we were working towards it. And so I had finished up my run on Batwoman, and I took this 6-issue arc on Constantine. And I said, hey, this arc, 6 issues, maybe. But I'm going to save the lion's share of my checks for these and take on a couple of extra gigs and do a few things and save this money back. So then I would have hopefully 6 months of cushion there. If I could get closer to a year's worth of cushion, it would be really nice. Because I knew that I wasn't going to be making any money for a little while. And then we did the Beauty, and it went really well. And, the first arc I was making almost the equivalent of what I was making at DC, and I was like, and I own this.
Yeah.
It's my thing, you know. I control it. And that went really well. And then after the six issues of the Beauty, I knew that I wanted to do another project, and the majority of my career has been about me drawing stuff that it's very street level,
Yeah.
you know. Like we a lot of men and women in, like, you know, black suits carrying pistols, you know,
Sure. Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
crime.
You're not doing
Um,
this superhero kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, I did some superhero stuff,
I mean,
like it
but
was
it's
still more
not, you're
street
not
level,
doing like interdimensional travel, like bright, like
right?
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cosmic, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and but I was like, I want to take a creative leap and step out of that comfort zone, and it's a big step out of that comfort zone,
Yeah.
and try to do something that is completely different. And so I stepped in and I did this. You know, I said, I want to do a fantasy book. And
Yeah.
I remember you and I were talking about heroes,
Right.
and I was like, I think I'm going to do this. I think this is what I want to do next. And that was when you were like, if you hire anybody else for the colors, I will kill you.
I
And
remember really, really wanting that because I was like, this book is like right up my alley. Like, I am capable of this. I will kill it. Like, you got to give me this thing.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so
yeah.
now that you have made and achieved some success with the Beauty and the Realm, like, do you think that you'll ever go back to mainstream comics, like work for hire Marvel DC stuff, or do you think that from now on your like focus is going to be to create the intellectual properties that you want to make?
I think that would be the ideal, getting to do my own things. I mean, Seth and I were talking about what we'd like to do with the Realm,
Yeah.
and like, we really have about 75 issues of stuff that we like. Like, if we got to tell it in the
75
way
is a
that we
long
want to
haul.
tell it, that's a long haul. It really, really is.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever attainable, but especially in this market. But like, that's how much stuff we've got. Like, we know the beginning of this story, we know the middle of this story, and we know the end. And in order to do all of that as big as we want to do it, and have like the character moments, because you can't have the first arc like that level of intensity all the time.
Sure.
You have to they have to do other things. They have to meet
Sure.
other people and have moments. But you know, what I'm getting at is, I would like to do this for as long as possible. The Realm specifically.
Really?
I'm not leaving.
You're not even
I'm
thinking
gonna,
about
yeah.
like any other intellectual. You're like, okay, we're gonna do the Realm, and then I'm gonna die. Like,
Well, I mean, I'm always like, eventually, probably within the next year, well, maybe two. It depends on a few things.
yeah,
Like, we're coming to the end of the Beauty.
yeah,
Um, it's not designed to be as long form. Um, but like, I know a couple of things that I want to write, so I'll write those and I'll do covers for that stuff. But this is the book that I'm going to be drawing for the as long as I can.
yeah,
Um, and where I was kind of getting about to your question, though, like, being realistic about it, there's a couple things. Like, I want to do it this long form.
yeah. I think
A lot
there's
of it depends on.
I think there's like not a lot of opportunity for long form within comics anymore either. Like, to be able to
Yeah.
tell a long story takes a huge investment, and I know that like my local shop, my guy who runs it has told me, he was like, look, you know, like, I was having a conversation with him about Sheriff of Babylon, where he's like, I love this book. I champion this book. I try to sell it to as many people as I can. You know, I ordered 25 issues of #1. I ordered 12 of number 2. I ordered 4 of number 3. He was like, I just can't get anyone to like stay on board. And I feel like with Marvel rebooting their line over and over again is another, they're realizing that like, you know, it's tough to get somebody to stay on for long form.
I think that where that, I think a lot of it is understanding the nature of the industry and the nature of your stories. Yeah. For instance, there is a reason. Could we tell beauty stories for 10 years? Yeah, I could. I mean, I've set up something where I can have fun with it and do whatever. Should I? No. But I will say this. The singles of the beauty ain't paying the bills. You know, they're, I mean, and my deal with my books, and you and I have this deal working on the Realm, is that I try to pay a respectable wage to the people that I'm working with. There is, you know, for in independent comics, you know, there's that, hey, work for free, or hey, you know, whatever. Oh, God. Like I try to, you know, and it's hard. I mean, and like you want to, you get excited about things, and you want to make things, but you have to eat, and you know, you have a fiance that will kick your ass out if you're not, you know. You know, I've got kids I've got to feed.
I field probably work on this comic. It only pays $50 a page. I field that pitch probably like once every 3 weeks. And I have for like the last 4 years. Like it's once every 3 weeks I get one. And it's just like, I just can't be 15 years in the industry. Like, you know, have my $50 page rate. The flatter takes 12. The Taxman takes, you know, 5 to 10 or whatever. And then like, I'm left with like, well, I worked for a week and I got, you know, $400, $600, you know?
You know, and there's actually, give me 1 second. Keep going with that. I need to plug in my laptop. So
sure. We're gonna lose him via satellite if he does not plug in his laptop. Yeah. So like, I feel like, you know, there's an entry level rate at $50 for colors, but if you've been in the industry for a long time, you should, I mean, we talk a lot about color on this channel. So I think that what you need to do as a colorist is like get in at 50 and then request the higher rate as you go. Like the rate should grow with you. You should not be stagnant at 50. But like, it's also like you are kind of locked into like, you know, I love comics. So it's like these $50 jobs are very tempting because they're cool books. Like I get, especially if I'm like, I don't have a book lined up in like a slot, if I'm free, I'm starting to learn as a creator that like my free time is just as valuable as my working time. And that, you know, if I'm ever going to build anything that's going to be profitable down the line, like I can't always be facilitating somebody else's dream. So if like I am going to be facilitating somebody else's dream or somebody else's book or whatever, then like I also need to be compensated for that so that I have the time to do this other stuff on the side. Barry Colors just said $50 a page would be amazing. Yeah, I've seen. So real quick, like I'm on a little bit of a tirade now, and you're along for the ride, Jeremy.
I'm locked.
Real quick, when I started, I did 6 issues for free with a book, and then I got paid $60 a page for a book, and that was like where I started out. And I've seen the rates like kind of slide lower and lower and lower over the past like 10 years, and it is disturbing because I'm worried that like, you know, these books that I've heard of like $35 or $25 a page, like I'm worried that people are going to see that, they're going to be like, I'm really excited about comics, I'm going to take this, and then they're going to be like, oh, this isn't sustainable, I'm going to get the hell out. And then like we're never going to like farm good coloring, we're never going to farm good creators if they just like leave for video games or leave for commercial art or whatever.
Well, I have so many thoughts based on that area. So okay. So first off, I think that his comment there, $50 a page, it would be great. Yes, it really would be, and I completely I get that feeling. I
Yeah.
so understand because I was there. I was
Yeah, everybody's been there. Anybody you
well,
see in
I mean,
comics. Yeah.
like I mean, I got into this industry and I said I would draw for free just to get a comic book out.
Right. Yeah.
I would, and and I did for a long time. I mean, I made $0. I had no page rate on any of Paradigm. I
Yeah.
think I may have made, all told on those issues, maybe $5,000 over the life of that book or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, no rate on Battle Hymn.
Yeah.
A couple of other things that I did in there that I got nothing on. So you're talking about that's nearly 20 issues of comics there that I drew
Right.
for basically free. I got
But you-
to IDW and I made, I think it was $75 a page to draw the book,
And I bet you were like
which
over
I was
the moon.
oh my god, no, I was so grateful for it. And that's what,
Yeah.
like $50 to color. I mean, but like I was over the moon to make that. But then at the same time, and this is where it gets a little tricky because I've heard people say between, depending on how crass they are, people say, I would love to draw a book for $50. I wish that I could make anything doing, or I would even do that for free.
Yeah.
To fuck you. Why aren't you making something because you love it? You should.
Oh, yeah.
You should suffer for what you do.
Right.
How dare you
Right.
ask money
Right.
thing? Okay. Well, my answer to that is always, and I'm not going to be quite as harsh, but I'm going to say you're entitled to make money for what you do.
Well,
and
I'd
expand
upon that and be like, if I'm not worried about like what checks are coming in or working a second job, I'm making better comics. Like if I know that like I'm going to be okay financially and I'm not worried about that and I'm not trying to like crunch all these other side jobs, I'm going to deliver a very well crafted comic book.
Well, and we spend a lot of time on the realm.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you as a colorist, you message me every once in a while and be like, I just spent longer on this cover than I have on anything in forever. I don't know.
Yeah. The realm is a very time intensive book for me.
Right. Well, it's very, I mean, but like, I'm drawing this book slower. Like whenever I was working for DC, I was doing easily a page a day plus. Like I was like a page and a quarter a day guy. So I could actually draw like a book and then part of something else while I was working. I maybe draw a page every day and a half.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 days on the realm. And
sure.
I mean, we were earlier we were talking about the new covers that I just sent, Nick's way. They're crazy. And and those took a while.
I
Probably,
looked at that cover and I'm like, that's gonna take me a while.
yeah. I need it when we're done with this. I also need to send you the reference for the inspiration for that, so you can look at it's crazy colors, but but anyway, I get why people are willing to work for free, and I get why people are willing to work for very little.
Yeah.
And I understand that we getting to work in this industry, I am absolutely honored to be here. And
absolutely.
And I honestly, and I want more talent in this industry. I want more kick-ass colorists. I want more great designers. I want people coming in and doing brilliant cover work. I want somebody to come in and give me those comic books that are gonna like knock me on my ass,
Yeah.
make me want to get even better again, and please come into this and like please and you know what? But I also want you, whenever you get into this industry, I want you to make a living wage at it so that you can live comfortably, so that you don't have to have a second job. And I
Yeah.
know that for a while you probably will have to have a second job. I did the same thing.
Right.
Those years that I worked, I scrimped and I saved and I ate, really bad food
Yep.
and
We've
for
all
a
been
time I
there.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for a while I didn't have kids, and then I had kids, and then you know I I've spent a lot of years in this industry. I think I'm right at 15 years now, and you know I want I want to make a living wage, but I also want everyone around me to make a living wage. It's
Right.
very important for me to, could I have lowballed you on this? Maybe.
Is this
Because
turning into a negotiation? Is that what's happening right before my eyes?
What I'm
Chat,
giving
get
you
my
an
back.
anti-rate. I'm Nick. I'm giving you $4 a page.
Oh no! This interview is a disaster.
It's the best worst. And also I think that there's that thing too where when you want to work with people that are amazing, like I got to step up on the realm and say, hey, who do I want to work with? Like who's gonna make who's gonna partner with me and make this the best it can be?
Yeah.
And I knew that we worked well together, and I knew we were on the same page.
Yeah.
And so I hired you because I knew that I wanted a thing. Well, if you're constantly lowballing people, I've got a buddy that's like, I don't ever want to pay, a letterer to do anything when I can do it. Well, then he letters stuff and it's shit.
Yeah, exactly. At a certain point, you get what you pay for too.
Right. Or he's like, I'm not gonna, I can't afford to pay a colorist, to do a B rate to do my book at Image because I don't know if I'm going to make anything. So then he wants to pay him C or D rates, and it's not because he's an asshole. I mean, he's an asshole for different reasons, but
it's just what
he's
it's what he can afford. Whatever.
Right. Well, and he's also scared because I think that like people don't know that like when you build an Image book, you're waiting to get paid for a long time. I mean, we worked on the realm for a year building this thing.
Oh, I know.
And then it came.
All 5 issues were in the can before I got the paycheck for the first one.
Yeah, and I mean it's
a lot of commitment.
It's a lot of commitment, and like on my end, like I couldn't even drawing the book. I couldn't even take on any other drawing work.
Yeah.
Because if I do, like I got calls to work on some really, really cool stuff for the big 2, and I couldn't, I had to say no because, and I wanted to. Nerd me was like, I can do that. I could not sleep.
You can do both.
But, but also I had to be devoted to this because if I screw up the schedule terribly, then it trickles down and and it does. You get sick.
Right.
You have family emergencies.
Life happens.
You have life, and it does. And you go into it with the best intentions, but schedules slide.
Yeah.
Well, as a writer or an artist or a writer, artist, whatever you are, you're at the top of this hill, and then you've got the colorist and letterer and designer down here. Not in importance, because I believe everybody's important in this. I'm simply saying that if you fuck it up here, if you are 4 months late giving pencils and inks, you're like, hey, colorist, you have to do 26 pages in 2 days.
Yeah, right. Turn it around, buddy.
Yeah. Like, that's what you do, man. Shut up. Like, and like eventually, like that's not sustainable, and that's
Right,
also
right.
like, and even during this process, our team, you know, Nick and Thomas Maurer, our designer letterer,
Yeah.
constantly step up for us. I mean,
Thomas kills it.
I mean, I love. Well, you know, yeah. Well, I mean, I love you guys. Like you constantly, I'm sending you something, and I'm like, hey, this is running late. I know, you know, we were just talking about these. We've got 2 extra covers that are due because they're store exclusives for the trade, which is awesome, and that affects us in a really positive way. That actually puts extra dollars into Nick's pocket and puts extra dollars in my pocket.
Yeah.
And you know, but the schedule is shit. It's so hard, and we know,
yeah, I'm actually working on it after we're done here.
Yeah, which would be another perfect Twitch stream for you.
Yeah.
But you know, these people that you work with really, you know, I say this over and over again, and I don't mean it in like a Vin Diesel kind of way, but I guess I do. You know, they're family. Like we're a family working on these things.
Yeah.
And you have to treat it like that.
Plus, comics is so small that if you constantly lowball and constantly screw over the people around you, like word gets out. Like, don't work with this guy. Like, my buddy had a bad experience, you know? Like, you know, I think that longevity in comics is a tricky thing. Staying within the industry for a long time, I think is tougher than it looks. But anyway, we've been talking for like an hour 47. At some point, I have to get out from under these hot lights and stop sweating.
Yeah. You look good for sweaty though.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you are a little bit glistening. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I have a glow. Is there anything you want to promote? I know your Twitter is like right above your head up there. And the Realm Final Order cutoff is Monday. That is right down there. That diamond code's not for the hardcover, but you know, you can just ask them. I'm sure they could figure it out for you. Your comic shop.
Yeah, your shop.
If you are not a comic shop person and this has piqued your interest, you can also order things on Amazon. You can pre-order it there. We just got a host with 82 viewers. Now I feel like we have to continue to talk.
Well, you know, we can. You know, actually, I do want to talk about one other aspect of this because during your tirade earlier about payment and stuff like that.
Travis, thank you for the host. That was very very nice of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what that means because I'm not twitchy, but I do appreciate it. So one of the things about you were talking about the longevity in comics, and about, you know, being able to stick with it and being able to stick with making things, you know, continually making projects, especially creator-owned things.
Yeah.
One of the things I try to talk to people about, even in a couple of the small like groups that we're involved in, I always preach diversification a little bit, and that goes back to, for me, it goes back to the terrible joke about me being the mayor of Joplin. It goes back to I take my money and I put it in developing properties. So I buy buildings and I renovate them, which helps our downtown.
Yeah.
But it also, long game, you know, in 15 years, I will actually be able to take, so my note on those buildings will be paid off.
Yeah.
I will be able to make what is the equivalent of a yearly salary every year just from owning those buildings.
So then after that, you can just make whatever you want to make. Like, you're taken care of.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, it's going to be, I'm 42 right now, so I'll be 57. So that's even a little bit earlier than usual retirement age. But my wife will be able to retire, and she won't have to do anything, which would be fantastic.
Sure.
There's a lot of options there.
Right.
But I think that you have to look at the long game of this.
Right.
And I think that, there's no retirement in comic. We joke that there's no sick days in comics. There's not really any retirement in comics.
No sick days, no retirement, no insurance, no nothing.
no holidays. I mean, I don't know about you, buddy, but I was
Oh yeah.
On Christmas night, I was in here drawing a little bit,
Yeah, Christmas is nuts. I talked about it on stream a little bit around Christmas because my streaming schedule got so messed up. The thing is that like Christmas books come out in like January, February, March, like somewhere in there, and like those books can't be late. So you try to do a full schedule in that month, like with Christmas. So whenever between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then about Christmas to like mid-January, I'm just ripping my hair out, and like everything else around me in life like gets like the volume turned down a little, and like it just turns into like I have like a breakdown when I'm like, oh shit, I gotta walk the dog. Like it's like I don't have time for that. I gotta do this, and it's like, dude, it's no way to live. And I can do it around Christmas, but like I can't do it around like for the year,
Well, and it gets hard because I think that I work long day. I pretty much work 7 days a week anyway. And
I've started to Chip Zdarsky. I read an article or an interview with him, and he was like, I take 1 day off a week, and I will die on that hill. He's like, if I don't get my 1 day off, I will drive myself crazy. And I've started to do that, and I think that is a really good thing. And my workload hasn't suffered. I'm still able to get everything out on time. I do better work when I come back from the day off. Like, I don't know. I think there's value in taking time.
I need to do that. I don't, and I always convince myself that it's valuable.
That long pause of self-assessment between like I don't.
It's well, and I try to do it. I try to make it happen. I try to take the day off. The thing that happens there is if I'm not careful, the other stuff and taking it back to the promotion and the all of the other stuff, like that builds. Like I spent Tuesday, I spent half of my day answering emails about the hardcover. Talking about I was going back and I had to help write the press release for a thing. I did a written interview. You do this stuff and it just builds and builds and builds.
You bugged me about getting my bio in.
I did. I actually, I think I actually used the words, "Will you please send in your bio so that I will stop getting bugged from our editor."
Yeah. Well, we're almost at 2 hours. So, we have your Twitter handle above your floating head here on the television next to me. Right up there. Yep. Is there anywhere else people can see your work that you want them to look at?
I am on Instagram. Under Jeremy Haun. I think it's the same as my Twitter handle.
Okay.
Check me out on there. It's fun. It's I repost across.
Where's the Me Like Bees stuff going to be, and where is the documentary stuff going to be?
Okay, so the Me Like Bees stuff, we've been slowly parsing it out, one
Yeah.
song with each. And we have the music video that we did for the first one, and that's always up. But you'll actually be able to get the iTunes, like the album digitally on iTunes.
Yeah.
Uh, it'll be out March. No, sorry, is it March?
I'm blindsiding you
March.
with dates.
Yeah, March 28th is the day that the Volume 1 trade will be out.
Yeah.
The same with the hardcover. Both of those will be out March 28th. That day you'll be able to get the Me Like Bees album on iTunes. We're also going to have a small pressing of CDs. I don't know if it's called a pressing for that. I just use that word. We'll have some CDs. Those should be available at shows that I'm at after that date.
Sure.
And then, of course, you can get the hardcover that has the download code for the album included in it that day.
You have just crafted a really dope pin, enamel pin for the Realm that
Yep.
I assume you're going to be selling at shows as well.
Yeah, we're gonna have that should be as early as I'm gonna have it this next week at Planet Comic Con in Kansas City. And I mean, I'm a little nervous because I'm always like, yeah, we only have a few of these, and hopefully I don't sell it before I get to, Emerald City or C2E2. But we'll try to have some for you. We may. I guess we can always go back.
Yeah, you can always print more. Are you gonna put them online?
Yeah, they'll be available if you go to jeremyhaun.com, which is my website. There's a store on there, and you can pick up. Sometimes, if we have them, like variants of the Realm, like I think we've got the New York Comic Con variant on there. Some prints. The pin will be available there.
Excellent.
We're also working on. We had a problem with our printer. Otherwise, we would already have them. But we're working on a T-shirt that is the secret variant.
Nice.
On a T-shirt. Yeah, so it'll be the image, and it'll even say the Realm.
I'm excited to get one of those. I want one.
Well, here's the thing. I do have a level of quality of shirts that I always want them to be really soft, nice shirts.
Yeah,
so they'll be comfy.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. If you like what you watched, follow, like, subscribe, do everything you need to do. Click all the buttons. The Realm, like we said, final order cutoff is Monday. Pick it up. Enjoy it. Until then, guys, keep making comics, and I'll catch you the next time.